Hi, I'm Tobin, and this is my story from Norway to America. In 1888, my great-grandfather John Olsen Strangstead and his twin brother left their home in Trenton, Norway, and sailed to America. It was a hard trip because they came steerage. That means they rode in the lower end of the boat with all the animals and the undesirable people. Some of these people were pretty rough, even dangerous. The people with money rode up above in the fancy part of the ship. They had their own rooms and lots of luxuries. They had great food and entertainment. The people in steerage had very poor conditions. They were very crowded. There weren't enough beds, so they sometimes had to sleep on the floor. The food was terrible and barely enough to keep them alive. Some people had liquor and they'd get drunk and start fights. A lot of people got really sick. Some died. Some pregnant women actually had babies on the trip. It was all a scary experience for two 17-year-old farm boys, but they made it. After the ship docked, John had to get to Wisconsin. I suppose he traveled by train. He was going to Westby, Wisconsin. His older sister had come to America earlier. She and her husband had a farm in Westby. Her husband had paid John's passage. John had to repay him by working on the farm. That's what was called indentured. He worked on the farm for 2 years. When his debt was paid, he returned to Rhinelander in northern Wisconsin. He established his life in Rhinelander. He worked in the lumber industry several years later. He married a woman who was also from Norway. They had 7 children. During this time, he wanted to become a U.S. citizen. To do that, he had to prove that he lived in the U.S. for at least 5 years. He had to prove that he was of good moral character. He had to learn about the Constitution and know the laws and history of the U.S. He had to pass the test, and he had to pass the test. He became a citizen in 1906. One of his sons was my mother's grandfather, and that's the story of why we're Americans instead of Norwegians. And to the left of me is a document it's his document of citizenship.
Hi, I'm Estella Sophia James, and this is my storytelling story. Great-Grandma Gladys, out of my great-grandma Gladys's mouth, she said, "I'm making my homemade Kringle, kids." The kitchen filled with the smell of a bakery. And the kids would stop playing, reading, whatever they were doing, just to watch my great-grandma Gladys make Kringle. Great-Grandma Gladys made Kringle so much that she memorized the recipe in her head. The gooey filling would mesmerize the kids. And if you blinked, you missed the whole process. That's how fast her hands worked. And the youngest at the time, Luke, would stop whining because the smell would taste like cherries and sugar or apples or almonds. Gladys would first make the sugar glaze and set it off to the side to set up. Then she'd roll out the big oval dough and then put big clumps of filling on top. And then she'd put the top layer on and pinch the sides, and then the gooey filling would fall out. Then she'd open the old-fashioned 2-door oven, slide it in, bake for 15 minutes. Then when you open the doors, it hit you straight away, all the sugar she used. Then she'd smear the beautiful sugar glaze on top. And the kids would huddle up and eat it all before Great-Grandpa Riley could get any. Great-Grandma Gladys would be happy to know that she is recognized as my family hero for making Kringle so much. As you can tell from the story, my family really does love Kringle.